I'm John Smith. Welcome to Kingdom Real. And tonight we have a very special guest. My dear friend, my brother, Dr. James Stokes. Good to have you here, brother.
I'm glad to be here, my friend.
Oh, that's so cool. So, why don't you start by telling us a little bit of your family of origin and what it was like in the family you grew up in?
Well, I am a twin. I have one sister that's about a year and 3 months ahead of me, and one sister about a year and 3 months behind.
And then
my
a brother that's right alongside.
Right, we're 20 minutes apart.
20 minutes.
My mom and dad. My dad is from White Cloud, Michigan. My mom's from Saginaw, Michigan.
Okay.
And they shared the same pastor. He pastored in Saginaw, pastored in White Cloud.
Oh, no kidding.
And the two churches sometimes would merge together for like a fellowship service, and that's how they met.
Wow.
And so they got married on a Sunday night after service. And, you know, some years later, the four of us come along, and born in Grand Rapids, lived all my life, you know, graduated from Creston High School, went on to the community college, and then from there went to International Seminary in Plymouth, Florida, and then got married at 21. I got married at 21.
I did too.
21.
It works, doesn't it?
It does. If you pick
Unless
the right
your
person.
kids are 21 and you think, oh no, you're not ready for that.
Right. And so then after a few years of marriage, I decided to go back and finish up my degrees. And here I am, man.
Wow.
56 years old.
Okay. Still a young man.
Still young. And,
Yeah.
and I'm having the time of my life.
That's great.
Having the time of my life.
Just curious, I have younger brothers, 13 years younger, that are twins, and they are totally opposite, totally different in every way you can imagine. How about you and your twin?
We are. We're kind of, I'm the quiet one.
Okay.
Believe it or not. My brother is the one, always been the one that, we're 20 minutes apart. I'm the oldest.
Okay.
He's younger than me. And he's always been the one to come in the room, just command the presence of everybody. You know, he will really work the room.
Okay.
I'm the guy that's sitting over in the corner, just, taking survey of everything. And even to this day, he's very outgoing, and I'm kind of reclusive. I am. I'm reclusive as it relates to crowds. I deal with crowds because as a pastor, you have to, you deal with people and you meet people. Yeah. And I can be cordial, but given the chance to slip off, I'll do it every time. So we're really polar opposites, and that's our personality.
You're both pastors, right?
But we both are pastors. Yeah. He pastors in Kalamazoo.
Right.
He lives in the Portage area, but pastors in Kalamazoo.
Yeah. I remember going down and seeing his church and stuff. Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, well, what would be maybe one of your favorite childhood memories?
Oh man, there were so many. One of the things I remember the most, which really imprinted my life as an adult, was the sense of community we had in our neighborhood.
Okay.
I mean, there were about probably 6 or 7 families within the general 1 or 2 blocks that all the kids were around the same age, maybe 2 or 3 years.
Oh, how fun.
Different. So we had just a huge plethora of guys to play with, and just play football in the streets and play baseball and basketball. And it was a real sense of community that we all grew up together. The parents all knew each other, and then just support that we had from our parents. My parents, even though my dad was a pastor and they pastored the church, but they still had time to support us in everything that we did. They supported us from guitar lessons, piano lessons, basketball practices, baseball practices, anything we wanted to do. They always found time to support it. And
awesome.
For me, you can't pay for that. I mean, you can't put a price on that when it comes to young people and the impression that it makes, as well as the sense of support and the sense of security when your parents are always there supporting you in the wings. And I mean, I guess that's one of the things that really sticks out with me the most. And we try to do that with our daughter. Well, we have done that with our daughter, and even some of the young adults and young high school and middle school kids in the church.
Okay.
You know, we carry that same thing over in the church, and we just try to make sure that we're supporting them and the parents. And you know, we just try to pay it forward in that way. I mean, it had a huge. My wife also, she ran track, and her parents were there. Even though they did ministry stuff, they always found the time, you know, to support us in the personal things that we want to do. So, and that's one of the huge memories that I had as a child, just the support from my parents in the neighborhood.
Wow, that's great. So, you've been a pastor for quite a few years now.
22.
22
I'm
years.
My 22nd year
Wow.
pastor. I've been preaching for 35 years.
Okay.
And pastoring for 22 of those 35 years.
Oh, that's
so,
awesome.
yeah, I just counted it up yesterday. I was like, man, I've been pastoring
Been doing this a while.
Yeah. My dad he retired in 2000.
Okay.
And put the church, and I assumed the ministry in 2000.
Okay.
And
So that's the difference between preaching and then pastoring.
It's huge difference. Huge difference.
Like what did you experience the difference?
It's preaching. I mean, without all of the responsibilities of the delegation of the day-to-day ministry of the church and the what you need to do, the accounts payable, accounts, you know, paying the bills and accounts receivable, and then managing and leading people.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's a huge responsibility. And as a local minister at the time, I mean, I didn't have to deal with all of that. But when you assume, you pick up the mantle and you assume the responsibility of the entire ministry, the weight of the ministry, it becomes very real.
Okay.
You know, it becomes very real. You can. There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about in the burden of the Lord. I believe it's in Isaiah. It might be in Isaiah, where it said, the burden of the Lord was upon him.
Okay.
And so you feel the burden of the call, the burden of the position, the burden of the office of the pastor. And when I say burden, I don't mean like it's so cumbersome, so heavy that I can't deal. I mean the responsibility, the weight of the office.
Yeah.
You know, you feel that so much more when you step in. As a matter of fact, a couple of times when I first started pastor, I remember somebody, you know, was trying to get my attention. He said, "Pastor." And he said, "Pastor." I'm looking around. I said, "Where's the pastor?" And it's like, you. I was like, oh my God.
That's right.
I am the pastor. Because, I mean, it's something that you have to get used to, and then you have to get comfortable in that position.
Yeah.
And then you have to understand the position. You know, and then you have to know how you fit in that position and your ideology of how you see ministry, what God has said to you. But so it's a huge thing, and it takes a minute. It takes a little while to grow, a couple years to really find your niche. You know, because my dad, you know, he was pretty much old school pastor, old school, and I had all these different ideals about, you know, ministry. And so for me to put input what God had put inside of me and now implement it in this ministry, it took a while. It probably took about 10 years to really see good transformation. Okay. Because you know, people really have to trust you first. They have to know that they can trust you. Right. And that takes a while. They have to earn their trust. And so 22 years later, we've grown. We moved to a new location. And God is, doing some really specific things in our ministry that he's blowing our mind. He really is. And so I'm excited about where we are and where we're going.
That's great. That's great. If you were to think back of your deepest, darkest, most difficult experience you've been through as a pastor, what comes to mind?
As a pastor, I'd have to say it was during the time that it was the time that we met. It was when we met.
Yeah.
You emailed me. We had a murder in our church, not in the church building, but a member of our congregation was murdered by another member in the church.
Wow.
It was devastating, and
yeah, I read about that in the newspaper.
yeah, the initial shock. I never dealt with anything like that. I never experienced anything like that. We never saw it coming, and it was all in the news, all over the news, all in the paper, and I was at the church, and you emailed the church.
I did.
And you said, "Hi, my name is John Smith. I read about your story in the paper." I remember it verbatim. I read about your story in the paper while I was pastoring in New York. I went through something similar. I think you said, "If you'd like to talk, here's my number, blah, 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 blah." And I called you. I think it was a day later or maybe 2 days later, I called you. You introduced yourself to me, and you began to really walk me through the process of it because you had been through it before. And you told me, matter of fact, you told me that the case was pretty similar
A lot of similarities.
to what we, so I mean, you knew what to do. And it was very helpful because it was 2008. I had just started passing 2000.
Wow. Yeah.
So we were just really getting going good, reestablishing the culture of the ministry.
Right.
We were just, we had a good quorum of young adults. And then this happens. She was 24, 20, 23, 24, maybe 25, somewhere around there. Her name was Mashonda Griffin. And long story short, she was murdered by the husband of one of the ladies that she had befriended in the church. This guy had just been recently released from prison. He did 15 years for armed robbery. And he come to the church. And in my mind, ministry is all about a second chance, another chance.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this guy did his time. He paid his debt to society. If he can't get another chance anywhere, he should be able to get another chance in the church.
Right.
So he joined the church. He was doing well. He got a job. He married. He was doing well. And I guess, I think about this often. You and I, if money gets tight, we think, okay, I got to get another job.
Right.
But a person who has a criminal mind, when money gets tight, they think, hey, let's go rob somebody. Hey, let's go steal. It's all in the perception of their life's perception and probably their background, their environment which they grew up in. All of that plays a part in how you process the issues of life. But long story short, he had been married, doing a good job, construction. He and his wife got a nice car, but he saw one of the ladies in the church that he could manipulate. He started manipulating her and started dealing with her in other ways that he should not have been. Left his wife, left his home, started manipulating her, living off of her. And then eventually money got tight. All of a sudden, he thinks, let's go rob some. In his mind, he and the other lady was going to rob people until they can get enough money to buy guns. And they was going to start robbing banks and stuff like that.
Oh my goodness.
It was just horrible. And then all this was going on right under my nose, which that's a whole nother story. But
you didn't suspect any of it.
Not nothing.
I understand. My situation, I didn't either. I just didn't suspect it at all.
And Mashonda was the accounts payable, accounts receivable. She was the secretary. She paid all the bills.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that, and I guess he figured that he could gain access to the church's money through her.
Okay.
So he comes to her house, and he asked to borrow some money from her. And then she worked in finances. She worked at GMAC Mortgage, so she did loans. She did stuff. So she was good with money. She always worked in finance, did all of that. So I guess he went there with the pretense of borrowing money, and he wound up robbing her. But how do you rob somebody you know? Yeah. And so he wound up, robbery turned into murder, and he murdered her. Wow. And then stole her ATM card in her car. They had him on the bank cameras. He was caught within 2 days. They caught him. So it was a real bad thing in our church. It was, all the women were afraid. Everybody was afraid. And it kind of put a stain on our ministry. It was all over the paper, all over the news, all over the state. And you met with me and you walked me through that so strategically, because I had never experienced anything like that.
Wow. They don't train you in Bible school or seminary or anything.
They don't train you for trauma like that.
No.
And so, I then became like a mother hen to the church. I gathered everybody under my wings. I specifically told everybody not to talk to the media, because the media was swarming around the church services and everything. Told everybody, don't talk to the media. I'll handle the media. I'll deal with this. I dealt with the police. I dealt with the detectives. I dealt with everything. And it was exhausting, but like you say, they don't teach you this in seminary.
They don't.
You can't find how to deal with this in the manual. Then one thing I learned through this, John, is that people have a life that they want you to see in the church realm, and then people have a life that they don't want you to see. Yeah. They covertly live those lives, and I found out that and not everybody, but some people. And sometimes that life that they don't want you to see will overlap into the life. It'll spill over into that other life. And he was pretty much living a double life. And it was devastating for us to have to deal with that. And I remember it was 2008 because we was dealing with the funeral stuff around the time President Obama was about to be sworn in election time, elected. And so we had to deal around the election date and voting day and all of that. So I remember it was around that time. So it was pretty dark. It was pretty dark to have to see her parents, her family, because Mashana was just a wonderful person. Yeah. She was just a wonderful person, and to have to deal with that, going to view the body and just telling the story and dealing with the trauma in the church. The church was just devastated. People were just devastated, because there was no rhyme or reason. There's no reason why that should have happened. Yeah. And so to have to deal with that, and to have to navigate through that, it was pretty dark. Yeah. It was pretty dark, but my friends rallied around me. They prayed for us and they supported us. Yeah. And it was during a time also that I remember that it was during a time where I said, okay, I'm getting tired here. I was starting to wear down a little bit. So I had previously set up about 4 weeks of people coming in to preach, because my wife and I was going to take some time off. Had no idea what was coming, that I needed those 4 weeks. After the funeral and stuff, we needed those 4 weeks. So
I remember one of the things that we talked about was giving yourself permission to grieve.
Yep, I remember that very well.
Yeah.
You told me to allow yourself to feel what you feel. Don't stifle your emotions. Don't try to be strong. And I learned a valuable lesson from that. I really learned a valuable lesson, and I still carry that to this day. I tell people when I walk people through grieving, even when my own parents died, that those emotions comes in waves, ebbs and flows. And I did not stop myself from feeling what I felt. I was true to my emotions. And I shared that same thing with my siblings. It's okay not to be good today. It's okay that
be real.
It's okay. And I've learned that to myself. It's okay to just call it. I'm not coming in today.
Yeah.
It's okay. As a matter of fact, it's healthy.
Yeah.
And I learned that. I learned that from you.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So, when you look at something like that, that could have destroyed the church. And yet now, these years later, you're reporting that things are going well, new things are happening, creative things and stuff. So it would seem like we have to give God a lot of credit.
Absolutely.
For what he did through that whole situation. And what the media was saying, what people were saying, and rumors I'm sure were flying.
Yeah.
And yet God was faithful and saw you through it.
Yeah. To God be the glory, man, for the things that he has done for our ministry and even in our personal lives. It was hard because I remember my wife and I, when we went to go vote, and I think we set the funeral for that Friday after that Tuesday voting day.
Okay.
And so even when we went to go vote, we saw people point at, there he is right there. There he goes. There they are right there. Yeah, I heard about that. And, and it just kind of put a stain on our ministry. We felt like, not that we felt like it actually happened, that where the membership had dropped off. People were scared.
Sure. Yeah. Am I going to be next?
And even though they had him in custody, even though the whole thing was wrapped up in a matter of about a week or two, it put a stain on our ministry, but that could happen anywhere, anytime, USA. It's people are people, and sin is sin, and we had corrupt people everywhere, and so it was really dark. But we learned to navigate through trials and tribulations, and it's just life, man.
Yep.
It's just people are people, and we deal with everyday life stuff. Yeah.
Did it change anything in you about how you do ministry or how you live life, going through that experience?
It did. It did. It changed a lot. We're a lot more aware now of positions. We're a lot more. We got a lot of policy and procedure in place now for new members, new membership. We got a lot of things on record now that we didn't have at the time. I mean, I was 8 years in.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff I hadn't learned yet.
Right.
But we got a lot of policy and procedure in now that helps safeguard a lot of things.
Okay.
We do background checks on not the new members, but anybody we bring into the ministry as ministry positions. We do background checks and all of that stuff. And it just taught me to keep my eyes a little bit wider open, look for things. You know how, you have experience in counseling, but you know how to hear what's being said.
Yeah.
But you also know how to hear what's not being said.
Exactly. You got to listen really carefully for that.
Exactly. And so it's taught us how to do that, be more aware, and depend on the guidance of God and the Holy Spirit, man. I'm so much more mature. As you can see, my gray hair. I'm
so badge of honor.
Oh man, I'm so much more mature as it relates to ministry. Made some mistakes. I was thinking about this today. Man, made some mistakes along the way, but learned from them.
Yeah.
And just loving on God's people, man. That's our focus in ministry now, to love on people no matter where they are.
My guess is you probably ministered to Mashanda's mom.
I did.
Her brother.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
What was that like?
It was hard. It was hard because they loved her. She was easy to love. She did so many things. She was the kind of person that everybody was proud of.
Yeah. And your daughter was really close to her, wasn't she?
Yeah. And so she was easy to love. She was easy to be around. She could articulate words. She was a wordsmith. She liked big words and how to use. And so ministering to her family was hard. But we memorialized her name. We started a college scholarship fund in her name. Okay. And we carried that out for almost 10 years. So As a matter of fact, we were purging some files at the church the other day, and we ran across some brochures and some.
We did golf outings. I played a few of the golf outings.
Yes,
yeah.
we did.
Yeah.
Cecil Murphy came and spoke at our first.
Well, that's
Remember,
right, yes.
you were there.
Yeah, I was.
I saw your name on the program just the other day. So this interview really is coming full circle to how we really first met 14 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but it, things are better now. Things are good now. We're in a good place, and God is moving. He's showing it. Even at that time, God was showing Himself real to us. So we're good now.
And some of the wisdom you've gained, you certainly have helped me in your role as vice president of the board of directors of Pastor Care.
Yeah.
And so you've been able to really guide and direct a lot of things that we're involved in, we're doing, and we're just very, very thankful for that.
I love it. I love you. And I told you a long time ago, anything you ask me to do, I'm going to do my level best to do it. Because you showed yourself to be a friend to me at a real pivotal and dark moment in my ministry career. Yeah. And you just came in, man, and just befriended me. You didn't ask anything from me, and then one day you asked me to serve. Oh, I said, yes, whatever. And anything that I've been able to do since then, man, I love it. I'll do anything I can for you, John.
I remember calling you on the morning of the inauguration of President Obama.
Yeah.
Says, what are you doing today?
And we watched it in my office on the TV.
We did.
It
Never in my lifetime did I think I'd see this. I remember hearing you say.
And you brought Subway subs.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, as we kind of wrap this up a little bit, if you were to summarize the message of hope that God has given you personally that you can share with the world, what would that be?
Man, life is short, and make every moment count. Since my mother passed in 2013, my father passed in 2018, they shared so many life stories with us. They shared so many godly principles. It helped us to make so many core choices in life, and that's one thing that they left with us, to treat everybody right, everybody fair. We're all God's people, and when they died, man, life is short, and I made a promise to God I was going to be a better pastor, I was going to be a better husband, a better father, better brother, a better uncle. I was going to be just a better version of me, and to just make sure that I make every moment count, man, and shine light in somebody's circle. That's my goal in life. That's my goal in life.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure, my friend.
Love you, brother.
I love you too, man.
All right. Well, I'm John Smith. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Kingdom Real. Can hardly wait to see you next time. God bless.